understood the functional group, then we understand that the carboxylic acids, they are derived from what is called the alkanes, okay? They are derived from the alkanes, so meaning between the carbon to carbon, the kind of the bonds that will actually exist, okay, will just be a single bond, okay? So, and then also, their names, so the names is as follows. So what you need to understand, if I have an acid, then I'm going to have, let's say, okay, so then I'll have what is called methanoic acid, okay, and then what follows is ethanoic acid, okay. What follows is actually propanoic acid. Okay, and remember that if you want to understand the naming of this compound under the carboxylic acid, you can just probably once for all learn from, you can check out my videos that I've done on alkanes and their names, okay, from 1 to 10. So before you go in an exam, you are required that you know about 10 of these compounds from each of the family of hydrocarbons or the classes of hydrocarbons. Okay, so I don't want to confuse you much, but I just want to focus maybe on the first kind of the compound, which is methanoic acid, and maybe also a bit of ethanoic acid, so that you can see how easy the carboxylic acid are. Now, don't forget about the functional group. It is very important for us to really understand what the functional group, how it is going to look like in the actual compound, like, for instance, methanoic acid, okay? Okay, so now, then, the general molecular formula, okay? General molecular formula. Okay, so I'm just actually shortening this one. General molecular formula of these compounds. So it is just CnH2nO2. Now, you have to be very careful when it comes to this formula, okay? You have to be very careful when it comes to this formula, because the sort of like the atoms that comes from the functional group, which is, okay, which is this one. Now, these are actually included in this, okay? So we're going to see, if I'm talking about methanoic acid, okay? I'm going to talk about methanoic acid, okay? So when you look at methanoic acid, it implies that the number of carbon equals to 1, okay? So this N means that the number of carbon in this compound is 1, okay? And this implies that we can now replace, where there is N in the formula, replace with 1. So C1H2 bracket 1 and then O2. So then, so then we can say this 2 times 1, just 2, then O2. Now, I want you to understand the meaning of this is that you're going to have this is just going to be C, okay? I mean H, okay? So you remove the H, this one, and also, okay, you just say, first of all, I remove this, okay? So meaning this is this, and the 2 atoms of oxygen are these, and 1 atom of hydrogen from here is this one. So before this part, I'm just going to have this. So the most important thing to understand is to look at the functional group, and this functional group is just this, meaning the carbon in the functional group is actually considered. So and the hydrogen here is this one, okay? There is one hydrogen, which is this one, and the two oxygen in between the carbon and hydrogen, that one, and then these are this one, okay? So this is how basically you can go about understanding that, okay? So now once you understand the functional group, okay, and I mean how to come up with the molecular formula, then we can now begin to come up with the structural formula for this methanoic acid, okay? So remember that you understand this part so that you actually don't get confused. And I want you to understand that if you want to be able to come up with a correct formulas, which is molecular formulas, make sure that you do practice a lot, just a practice so that you can become better and better. So therefore, I'm going now to go to structural formula of methanoic acid. So I'll see you again.